Revenge films.
My name is Sarah. I live with my husband Harrison, and even after we got married, I still work at a company as a full-time employee. I would be working from morning until night in a difficult job before going home, but because I really wanted to get a promotion, I worked really hard without complaining about it. My husband's monthly net worth salary is $1,500, which was $100 more per month than me, who was making $1,400. But my husband worked less hours than me, and he never worked overtime either. On the other hand, my bonuses were much better than his, so when it came to an annual salary, I was actually about $10,000 above him. However, my husband insisted that he was making a higher salary than me, and he was dumping all of the house chores onto me. I was coming home later than my husband every single day, so it was really difficult to do everything around the house by myself. Even then, every day my husband wouldn't lift a finger, and he would be playing video games while he waited for me to come home. On top of that, he was the type of person to say everything was a waste and refused to throw things away, so even just keeping the house tidy was a huge difficulty. Without knowing my struggles of having to take care of my husband while also working part-time, my husband would always be complaining to me, and I was getting tired of it.
Dinner still isn't ready?
Hold on, I just got home a minute ago. I'll start making it now, so please help me with cleaning the bath.
Excuse me? Who do you think you're talking to? I'm earning more than you, so you better not give me orders.
In the end, my husband refused to clean the bath, and he just stood next to me making dinner and played games the entire time. When I laid out the homemade dinner that I finally felt like I finished, my husband looked at it and let out a big sigh.
I'm not in the mood for meatloaf today, so I don't need this.
Harrison went to the kitchen cabinet and grabbed a cup noodles, and without putting a hand on the meal that I cooked, started eating it. Hey, I worked really hard to make this, so please eat it.
Like I said, I'm not in the mood for any of this.
That's way too selfish. I am so exhausted from working too, you know.
Shut up! If you're so upset about it, then why don't you try earning more than me? You can't even walk, and you're useless. So stop complaining. You better not forget that I'm the one with the higher salary, and that's how you're able to survive.
After he raised his voice at me, my husband disappeared into his room. I thought it was really pathetic that my husband had thought that $1,500 a month was a high salary. I couldn't help but be irritated with Harrison, who refused to help with any of the chores. But at the same time, I didn't think that it was something to get a divorce over. But then one day, when I came home from work, in a rare occurrence, my husband wasn't home. I thought I would finally be able to take a nice, relaxing bath, and when I was looking for bath salts in the bathroom, something felt off of the corner of the top. When I picked it up, it was a hairbrush with the name of a motel on it. At that moment, I started suspecting my husband was having an affair. Knowing that my husband never threw anything away, I was sure that there must be other evidence left behind somewhere, and I investigated into the room. And then I found new photographs of him with a very young woman. The moment I was sure that he was having an affair, I was finally able to start thinking about divorce from Harrison. In order to start preparing for the divorce, I decided to go for a free consultation with a lawyer, so I took the day off work and went to the law firm. Then I found out, unless my husband admits to having the affair, it would be a lot harder than I thought to collect settlement fees from him. Unless I have definitive evidence, like photos of them going into a hotel or naked photos, there was a high chance that my husband would never be able to admit the affair. I figured it would take some time before I would be able to collect a settlement fee from him, and just thinking about it, I could feel the stress piling up inside of me. After I left the lawyer's office, I decided to go shopping at the local supermarkets before going home. As I was getting groceries, I suddenly had to use the restroom, so I rushed over to the toilets. However, there was a long line of people, so I felt like I had no choice but to go into the handicap restroom. When I hurried to open the door to the bathroom, a shocking sight was in front of me. To my disbelief, a guy and a girl were completely naked from the waist down and going at it. Ah! I let out a shriek from seeing something I never wanted to see, but immediately after I realized the most shocking part of it all, when I looked more closely, the person that was going at it with this woman was, without a doubt, my husband Harrison. What the hell are you doing in a place like this?
Sarah? That's not it. This is a misunderstanding.
The door was unlocked, so I was going in. But do you think it's okay to do things like this in a public place like this?
Wait, was the door not locked?
You forgot to lock it? I can't believe it. Just a few hours ago, I thought it would be hard to get definitive evidence, but I never could have imagined that I would be able to get it this soon. I realized that this was my opportunity, and I quickly took a photo. But then my husband noticed that, and he tried to grab my cell phone out of my hands, so I ran out of the handicapped toilet, and my husband chased after me, still naked from the waist down, as he came out of the toilet. A customer who was walking by screamed in a loud voice, and people started to gather in front of the handicapped toilet. I truly didn't want to believe that the person who was showing such pathetic figure in front of so many people was my husband. His mistress was desperately hiding her lower body behind him. That's enough! That's enough already! Stop looking so pathetic and just hurry up and get your clothes on! As my husband and his mistress were panicking to put on their clothes, the security guard who had heard the women screaming came running over. Amongst the customers who were around us, there were people who were angry at my husband's immoral actions, and in order to calm down the commotion, a few other security guards came over to support the situation. When I explained the situation to the security guards, the two of them were taken into custody, and then they were immediately reported to the police, and they were both arrested for public indecency. Not only that, but it was discovered that his mistress was still underage, so my husband was sued by her parents and he had to pay a settlement fee. When my husband was released, he came home as though nothing had happened, and then he said that it was my fault that he was arrested, and he started telling me to take responsibility for it. After not only cheating on me, he didn't have an ounce of guilt regarding the arrest, and instead came to blame me, so I served him with the divorce papers. But then my husband looked shocked.
Do you seriously think that you can survive by getting a divorce and living off of your own salary alone? If you're going to take it back, now's your chance!
From the drawer, I took out both my husband and my withholding slips, and I laid them out on the table and showed him. I've been meaning to tell you this for a long time. Even though your monthly salary may be a little higher, my annual salary is more than $10,000 above yours. And plus, there's no way that anybody would be able to live off of $1,500 a month. If you want to belittle me about my salary, then you need to earn more before that. My husband grabbed the withholding slip and compared them, and once he confirmed that his annual salary was in fact lower than mine, he was no longer able to say anything and fell silent. I will be getting a lawyer now and collecting a settlement fee from you.
A settlement fee? That's impossible! That mistress sued me as well, and my savings are already about to reach the bottom. Let's just call off the divorce for now. I already had to promise that girl's parents that I wouldn't see her anymore anyway, so it's fine now, right?
So you better be ready. Harrison tried to deny the settlement fee, but I no longer had it in me to speak directly to him anymore. I told him that I only wanted to speak to him through my lawyer from now on, and to get out of the house. But then he got even more frustrated and told me not to rely on some lawyer, and tried to convince me to talk out of it. I knew that he was already on edge, but I kicked Harrison out of the house, and when I threw all of his belongings outside, he was livid. I ignored him and just handed him the divorce papers and locked the door. Not too long after that, he must have arranged for a moving company to gather his belongings, because a truck stopped in front of my house, and Harrison's things disappeared one by one along with him. When we went to court, because I had definitive evidence in hand, I was easily able to collect the settlement fee. After that, I sued both Harrison and his mistress for the settlement fee, and even though his mistress was underage, it was declared that she was grown enough to take responsibility for her actions, and we gained an agreement from her parents for where her legal guardians, and I was able to collect a settlement fee from her as well. As for Harrison, his company discovered that he was arrested by the police and he was fired from his job. He said that it would be difficult for him to pay the settlement fee, so he tried to tell me that he would pay it in split payments every month. However, because I wanted nothing to do with my husband anymore, I demanded that I get a deposit in one payment, and once that was completed, I told him to never come near me ever again. My ex-husband had to deplete all of his assets in paying the settlement fees. After losing his job, he was no longer able to survive and was stuck wandering the streets aimlessly. In the end, he had nowhere else left to go, and he suddenly showed up at my doorstep one day, so I reported him to the police. This was the final straw for his parents, who were furious with him, and he was dragged back to their house, and they said that he's currently working a few part-time jobs near his family home. As for me, after the divorce, I was able to put even more of my time and effort into my job, and as a result, I was able to get a promotion and gain a higher salary. A few years later, I got remarried to the heir of a major client company, and I was able to let go of the apartments that I was living in with my ex-husband and move into a penthouse of a luxury high-rise building. My new husband was extremely kind, and he never once cared about our difference in salaries and would split the chores around the house. On his days off, he would always cook up a specialty meal for me. The reason why I am able to live so happily now is largely a result from how my poorly first marriage went. After everything that I went through, now I finally had this happen. I just want to continue treasuring this life.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.